Welcome to Artifact Cup 30, Round 3. This is Midyear Pack 2 speaking. We have Mordax Praetorian versus Noneyadambus on Tauren Crater. And this is a game that I have cast before. I mentioned this previously. There were two games that I cast. The one of Trend versus JHS, which I will have uploaded just before this one. And also this game of Mordax Praetorian versus Noneyadambus. And the reason that I recast these is because the first time that I cast them, I think I did a really sloppy job. It was like late at night, and the first game of Trend versus JHS somehow just really confused me, and I wasn't really sure what was going on. I'm still a little confused by that game, by the way, so it wasn't just that I was sleepy. And this game, hopefully, I'll do a little bit better at as well. So I just decided to recast these. So I kind of know how these are going to end, but, you know, I don't really remember all the details. It's been about a week, so hopefully I can still make this a little bit entertaining for you all. This is Noneyadambus. He's in the Coalition carrier, and we're going to watch his base runner because Noneyadambus really likes the Coalition base runner, and I can't really blame him. The Coalition base runner is awesome. It can deploy turrets, it can deploy anti-air turrets, so it can really just counter every single unit out there. It's got this UAV on the back here that it can deploy for scouting, although Noneyadambus doesn't really seem to use that as much. And it can also, you know, it has these awesome wheels and can get some air. I mean, we might even see it get some air off of this hill. Like, maybe not, but it's gonna, you know. It's a real cool desert vehicle. This is like the iconic vehicle of Deserts of Karak. So anyway, he's going to use this a lot. We're going to watch it. And the reason I say he's going to use this a lot is not just that I've seen this game. It's because in every game that Noneyadambus has played, he has used his base runners a lot. And he's built a lot of base runners. So that's kind of his thing. And there's another unit that's kind of his thing. And we'll see that come in a little later in the game, probably. As we can see, he's already got another base runner here. So his opponent here is Mordax Praetorian in the Soban carrier. Nice black Soban carrier with a little hint of red there. And I don't really know his style as well. So we're going to see what he does. He's going for AAV fab, so nothing crazy there. It's a little bit later than most Coalition players might get that. I shouldn't say most. I should say it's a little later than like the top Coalition players who get AAV fab. But, you know, he's also got his resourcing coming out here, so, and he's got a couple LAVs. So this is going to help him scout. And he's going to make this weird decision to move his base runner back from, I think he was over by this artifact, and now he's going to move it here. Whatever. He's going to capture that middle artifact, which is always a safe option. And meanwhile, Noneyadambus places his first defensive turret with his base runner. I just want to point out something really cool about this game, how there's these little tracks in the desert from the base runner. It's one of those cool things. And this LAV here from Mordax is going to be taken out by this turret almost immediately. So Mordax knows this turret is here, and this turret is going to try and guard this extraction zone. Now, the turret's placed a little oddly because this dune here prevents it from firing into the extraction zone itself. This dune over here means that Mordax could have units just pop over the dune and immediately be within range of the turret. So the turret's really only covering this zone right here.
Support cruiser now
so I'm not really sure that this placement is the best, but it is going to at least cover this zone. And this is like a really nice photogenic view. If we just take a look at this for a second, that's like, you know, once we get the UI stuff out of the way, there's like, this is a really cool, like, I almost feel like I'm going skiing right now, and this is like a cool ski slope, except it's sand. It's probably very hot. So here's another turret from Noneyadambus. He really likes these, and again, it's just like on the inside lip here, so it can't fire backwards. It's just that in this particular narrow zone, there's going to be a lot of turret fire. So I think the turrets are vulnerable here, but if Mordax puts his units in just the right place for the turrets to fire upon, then they'll be very powerful. Really hard to say. This is one of my constant criticisms of Noneyadambus, is that his turret placements are not done with the turret's survival in mind. And the turrets really don't have that many hit points. 600, and they already took 10 hit points of damage. I mean, just for perspective, a salvager has 900 hit points, I believe, and yeah, 900 hit points and the exact same amount of armor. So these things are weaker than salvagers, and only a tiny bit stronger than an LAV. And if we take a look at the LAV, excuse me, where's he at? Okay, so they have more armor than an LAV. And a few more hit points. But really, they're pretty weak units. And relatively expensive. They're 250 CUs each, I believe. Yeah, so these aren't the most survivable units, but Noneyadambus is going to place a lot of them. So your usual tactics that might work against destroying, 1 or 2 turrets are not going to necessarily work when you're trying to destroy 3. I want to talk about these turrets here because Noneyadambus has placed another 3 turrets back at home. He really, really loves these. But there is a fight that's about to come here. I want to take a look at tech. There is railgun tech out and some railguns for Mordax Praetorian here. And Noneyadambus tech-wise is just getting AAV fab. He hasn't really made any other tech choice yet. He's just relying on these turrets to protect him in the early game. So there's going to be a quick fight here. The turrets immediately open up and they're going to try and take care of these LAVs. There's a lot of turret fire wasted there. I think the turrets spent way more time firing against the LAVs than they need to. So a railgun's going to go down, and another railgun's going to get like a little damaged. But these AAVs are going to be able to deal with the turrets just fine. So that's a total of 4 turrets that will go down in exchange for 2 railguns and 2 LAVs. Now, 2 LAVs are cheaper than 1 turret. And the railguns, I'm going to say that that's roughly still a win for Mordax in terms of resources. We can take a look at units lost here. Oh, so they don't show up for Noneyadambus, but this is 1,000 CUs lost. So maybe it was about even, actually, given that the RUs are costly for Mordax. But on the other hand, Mordax now has secured the extraction zone. Mordax can very quickly rebuild railguns, whereas the stationary turrets are harder to build. You have to wait for that timer. So, all told, yeah, this really worked much more in Mordax's favor here than for Noneyadambus's with that protection there. And meanwhile, Noneyadambus, even though he has more base runners, he has 3 of them, he hasn't gathered any artifacts, and he's got a coalition carrier. A coalition carrier can benefit a whole lot from extra carrier power, and he hasn't grabbed these artifacts. He could just move out with these right now and grab a few of them, and even though Mordax has some units here, he wouldn't be able to take out all of the base runners. He'd only be able to take out 1 or maybe 2. But instead, Noneyadambus is building turrets. He has 3 turrets here guarding this particular choke point. Now, supposing that Mordax just decided to stream his units in 1 at a time, not in a big blob, but just 1 at a time through this narrow opening where there are turrets lying, then, maybe Noneyadambus could do something about it. And he's building anti-air turret posts behind here, still actually kind of in sight of that opening, just because, maybe there will be air. But the anti-air isn't placed to cover things like the resourcing. The anti-air is placed just to protect these turrets.
Construction resources exhausted.
It's kind of baffling. You could even just move these like a little bit behind here, so at least the AA turrets wouldn't be able to be fired upon by units coming through this choke point. But I think Noneyadambus just really loves the geometry of this. So we'll see what happens there. He's also got a couple turrets over here guarding his resources. Again, really close together, and he's building a turret nest over here as well. So this is just kind of crazy. There's no turrets over here where the main resourcing zone is, which is also where Mordax is going to be bringing all of his units. So a lot of railguns here right now. Notice we've got 9 railguns, and there are no combat units from Noneyadambus. He has researched AAV fab, and he is researching assault cruiser fabrication.
Rally point set. Move to location.
He also has power reserve 3, so a lot of tech choice, a lot of tech expense, I should say, has been spent by Noneyadambus. He spent a lot on tech. I have a lot of roundabout ways of saying that, but in any case, his carrier will be able to defend a little bit here, and I think Mordax is making a mistake by firing on the carrier instead of firing on the salvagers. He's even firing the carrier with his AAVs, and so Noneyadambus will be able to do something against these railguns with all that power reserve. And he's going for support cruiser anti-air. But, I just want to point out, Mordax doesn't have air tech. And he's shown no indications that he's going to have air tech. And Noneyadambus is investing heavily in anti-air. Now, this is some neat bait here. Mordax is probably thinking, oh my gosh, I'm just going to catch his carrier. I'm going to totally take it out. I'm going to use mark target. I'm going to do huge damage against his carrier. But he probably didn't count on Noneyadambus having as much weaponry as he did. And he probably didn't count on a support cruiser popping out and giving repairs to the carrier right away. So the railguns are going to pretty much go down. And Noneyadambus is going to probably pull back his carrier. Maybe he'll go after this one. He is prioritizing a little more power into range, so that's always nice to see. It'd be nice to see him put that extra power into armor, especially with these railguns over here, and also with the support cruiser repairing, because if you have armor, that means the support cruiser can repair more damage per second.
We're going to get live scan reports back.
But Noneyadambus is going to kind of pull it back at just the right moment. Mordax, it looks like, is going to try and follow, and he's got tons of railguns pumping out, which is the right thing to do.
Repair protocols active.
I've said this several times, that Mordax just pumps out railguns exactly when he needs to, but he doesn't have them all in range quite yet, and Noneyadambus' carrier is going to just escape around this wall. It's so close to dying. It's like a few shots away from dying, but he does have support cruisers repairing it. Just one, excuse me, but he does have a support cruiser repairing it, and he is going to pull his carrier all the way back.
Hostiles designated. Full. We've got hostile on sensors. Confirm visual.
Now this is interesting. Mordax is going to be fighting with AAVs, and he can see all this. He can see what's going on. He can see this nest of turrets here, right? It's not like he's blind. He's got really great scouting information here. Look at where these railguns are going. These railguns are pathing right up in here. Right up against the turrets. There's one railgun down. There's two railguns down. He's sending LAVs in here as well. There's 3 railguns down. He's got a support cruiser in here repairing the carrier. Oh my gosh, 4 or 5 railguns down. LAVs down. And he's trying to shoot at the carrier through this choke point. But the turrets are being repaired and are just destroying all of the railguns. And meanwhile, this carrier still doesn't have armor selected from Noneyadambus. It's still just got firepower here. But the turrets are doing so much damage against these railguns. It's incredible how many railguns, you know, Mordax could just swing them over here, and then the turrets wouldn't be able to do anything. There are no turrets over here. Those are logistics modules. But instead, it's given Noneyadambus time to pop out 2 assault cruisers. Which are the other unit, by the way, that Noneyadambus loves. He pretty much only builds assault cruisers. So 1 railgun makes it out of this turret death trap, and it will probably just be taken out by this assault cruiser. Whatever gets in range, yeah. That's dead. So now there are assault cruisers out. Really cool color scheme on these assault cruisers, but I think it's the wrong unit choice. And the reason is these are pretty short range, and we know that Mordax has tons of railguns, and these are pretty much countered by railguns.
Alert. Assault cruiser lost.
I mean, you can see how they're pretty much... Now, also I want to point out, Noneyadambus did use a missile barrage over here that did, like, barely any damage to these railguns. And the missile barrage is expensive. Noneyadambus will build more assault cruisers, so we'll be able to hover over and see what those abilities are like. But the assault cruiser has several abilities that are costly and cannot be used simultaneously. Once you use one, the others are disabled. And the missile barrage is, I think, the default choice that a lot of players use, and I don't think it's the best. In any case, this is really just kind of ridiculous. There's so many railguns here, and a lot of LAVs here. And finally, Mordax is going to bring them around on an angle that's away from the turrets. Maybe he's just confusing these for turrets, but he should be able to tell these are logistics modules. Noneyadambus has not really prioritized repair or armor on his carrier enough, and so now I think it will probably go down. You can't really run at this point, and Mordax has these railguns in a nice position. They are very clustered up. Like right now, this would be an amazing time for an assault cruiser to fire with a missile barrage and just take out all of those railguns. But that's not what's going to happen. Noneyadambus' carrier will be destroyed. And I want to give Noneyadambus a little bit of credit. This death trap did work. I have no idea how it worked. Mordax, I don't know what you were thinking, man. But you did eventually come around and fire in the right spot here. So, good game. And thank you to you both for an interesting game. There will be more round 3 games on Torn Crater coming. This is the second of 5 games. So, stay tuned for more of that, and thank you for watching.